So yesterday we learnt about JavaScript output methods. What are the various output techniques in JavaScript? So how JavaScript controls output? So usually when you are dealing with JavaScript client side with HTML. So what are the various output methods we have? So various output techniques we have. Output techniques we learned about alert, and another one is conform, and we have document write, and we have so inner text, and we have inner HTML, and another one is outer HTML. These are the options we are having, right? And we have console methods. These are all the options we have. Now, how we use these output methods? What is the situation for these output methods? All these points we discuss. What are the situation for output methods? Alerts, conform, document write. Already we discussed these points. What is difference between alert and conform? Alert, conform, alert cannot be cancelled, right? What alert will return if you click OK or cancel? So alert is going to return undefined. What conform returns? So it's a Boolean type. It is true or false. And document write is to print output on a new screen. Inner text, it is used to display content in any container. So, but text without formats. Inner HTML will print text with formats. Formats means you can say with markup. So markup is not allowed for inner text. Now outer HTML difference. Outer HTML is used for replacing the element with the target. And console methods are what? Console methods. So console methods, we have console methods called as what? These are related to developer. These are developer related, developer tools actually. So these are the various output techniques that we have. So what are the various output methods and how do we work with them? And all these previous videos anybody missed, I already uploaded into Classroom. Previous videos, you can go through them. Anyone missed out those? If anyone don't have the Classroom ID, today at the end of the session, I will post the Classroom ID, check. And already videos are there for the previous one. Once go through those videos if you missed previous topics. Okay. Now here we have another important concept to handle. You need to know in JavaScript how to manage JavaScript input techniques, input methods. What are the various JavaScript input methods? That means how you can provide input using JavaScript. What are the various techniques? Input means, so input is the process. Input is the process of taking value from client and handle the value in browser memory. So in browser memory, or to manage so DOM operations. So technically, input is the process of taking value from client From client, you need to take value. How you will take value from the client? How you can manage the value from client? How to display value to client? You see that by using output methods we can do. How he can provide a value. For example, let's create here a simple design. In this index HTML, I'm just using your name, and I want user to enter a name so that I can show the name. Here we can display the name. I just kept a container called span. In this span, I want to display the name that user enters. But here the question is how user enters the name. How user is going to enter the name. You can see here, when I run this, the output is there. How user will provide name, from where you can provide. That means how JavaScript can take your value and use it. What are the various techniques? Generally, to take value from the user, JavaScript can use different techniques. What are the different techniques? First important is JavaScript can actually take input. JavaScript can take input from different things. One is query string. It can take input from query string. It can take input from prompt, and it can take input from form input elements. It can do in several ways. JavaScript can take input from query string. It can take input from prompt. It can take input from form input elements. One by one, we will see what are these, what is difference between them. That means what is query string, what is prompt, and what are form input elements. So how these will work? What are the various techniques we will see? First important, actually, what is query string? Query string. I hope in HTML you have learned that in HTML you can design a form. When you design a form in HTML form have two methods. One is get method, another one post. Form have method, form method can be get or post. So what is the purpose of get method? Get method is used for fetching data from server. If you want to fetch data from server, you do that by using get. If you want to submit data to server, then you do that by using post. Now the point is, which one can I submit data on get request? Get is for fetching. Can I submit data on get request? We can. In HTML, you already learned we can submit data on get request, but it is not recommended always. Why it is not recommended always? Because when you submit data on get request, the data will be in query string, and query strings are not safe. Anyone can view your data. Query string means what? Actually, query string, so it is a reference. It is a reference value. It is a reference value created and appended into browser as URL. It is a reference value created and appended into browser as URL. Actually, it is present in browser address bar. It is present in browser address bar. So user can input input a value into page from query string. From query string he can do. He can input a value into the page from query string. That means user can input a value into the page from query string. Query string is nothing but actually in the browser, this is address bar. In this address bar, you can create a reference. You can create a reference. Reference is created by question mark. Question mark is to concatenate. Concatenate a reference name. Reference name is equal to some value. Whatever value you entered and added into this URL, this is called query string. This query string, we can access and use it. That is what JavaScript can do. That means it can collect the value from query string. Many times it does that because generally you are visiting some website. In a website, I want to suppose shopping. In a shopping site, I want to watch some electronics. Then usually what happens? The URL will be given like this. URL will be like http://www.amazon.in. So in that slash what? Electronics is a page. In this electronics page, I want mobiles. Then directly I can pass my query here. I can say category is equal to mobiles. Then directly it can filter the mobiles and show me. Actually, what you are doing, you are clicking on mobiles. When you are clicking on mobiles, it is going to pass this in the URL. That means the URL allows you to create one reference, store some data in that reference, and so that that data can be accessed and used by the page. You can input values into page by using query string. So that means without selecting anything, you can just pass the query so that it will take it and it will use it. This is very much required mostly while you are trying to access any content directly. That means you don't need to go in order level by level. You can directly access and you can use it. Actually, in query string, we can pass multiple values. It's not only one value. We can pass multiple. How to collect those multiple values later you will see. Initially, we will see how do we collect one value and use that here in our page. So what we are expecting the client to pass the value here. But how query string is appended? Actually, query string is appended into URL using question mark. That means you have to define the page.html question mark. So reference name, suppose username, uname is equal to some John. Like this, we can pass some value. If you want to pass multiple values, then what you can do is you can define page.html question mark uname is equal to John and ampersand, and we can have ampersand concat. So age is equal to some 23. Like this, we can another value, then another ampersand, and you can define any. So how to deal with multiple later you will learn. Why? Because for that we need to learn string handling. Then we can easily manage. So the first important concept is JavaScript allows user to input a value by using what? Query string. How do we define the query string? How to collect the query string? Defining query string, okay. But how do we collect that in the page? Generally, we have to collect the query string. So query string is accessed is accessed and used in page by using a DOM object, by using document object, and actually we call browser object. By using browser object, we people call this as BOM, browser object model. By using a browser object called location. There is a browser object called location. This location browser object can get. By using this location browser object, you can access. Actually, syntactically, how do we define location dot search? Location dot search, it is nothing but this is going to return the query string. In a page, if any query string is defined, that query string can be accessed by using a JavaScript object called location and with a property called search. Because query strings are used as search strings in the URL, you can access them by using this location search. So see what I am doing here. I am writing simply here a JavaScript. In the JavaScript, we need to write a logic on body load. So we are writing a function body load. On body load, we have to collect the value and display inside the span. We have to collect the value and display inside the span. So then what we will do is we will use here document.query selector. Query selector, what is it? Span. In the span, we want to display inner HTML. What you want to display? Whatever the value coming from query string. Actually, query string means it will return complete query string. But in the query string, we want only certain value. How you will get it, I will show you. We have to use location.search. Now, body load should fire up when the page is loaded. That means body have an option on load. On load is equal to what? Body load. Body load is the function fires up that comes from our index.js. And see now, I will refresh here. So there is nothing there because there is no query string. I will pass the query string here, question mark, name is equal to John, and enter. It will get that. That means we are collecting the value. And actually we are not collecting value. We are collecting complete query string. This entire query string is collected and used here. But I don't want entire query string. I want only this value. That is what JavaScript will teach you, how to fetch only that part, means how to divide it, how to split it. For that, you need to actually learn JavaScript string handling. You will learn JavaScript string handling. You will learn a lot of methods. You will understand how to cut that string and fetch only what you want. Actually, for that, what we do, we want to read the value which comes after equal. Then what generally we do is we write a logic like this, location.search. In that, we have to use substring. Substring means read only from specific part. From which location we have to read? So we have to read from equal. From equal position we want to read. Then generally we need to write like this. See, I will show you. We are using here string. Into the string, because we haven't yet learned variables and all, we will learn. As of now, just declare one variable, reference. Into the string, we have to use location, location.search. So it is going to return everything. Everything means complete query string. In that complete query string, after equal, you have to read. Then I will use another called, so username is equal to string. From the string, what we will do is we will access substring. Substring from which location? Starting position. Starting position is after equal. That means we use string dot index of equal symbol. Index of equal symbol means where equal symbol is present, its index number. After that, +1. That means it should not include equal symbol. After index, you have to read it. And we have to present this username in span. Document dot what? Query selector. Query selector is span. In span inner HTML, we need to display username. These functions you are going to learn in next level. When we start learning about strings, you will understand. As of now, just try this. Substring is used to extract a part of string, and index of to extract from which index number. From which index number where equal is present. But equal should not be included. Then +1 after equal symbol. Then see what happens here. It will show only John. I am entering here name as some David, and it will get only David. So whatever you pass in this, you can access and you can use it. And remember, you cannot simply pass here question mark David like this. It's not possible, because that is just only what? Query string. We need to pass a value into query string. That means actually, as per tradition, it should have a reference name, question mark. Suppose I am using /David, something like this. It can't. Query strings always appended by using what? Question mark. That means query string is appended by question mark. Question mark will have a reference name. Reference name, any name you can give. I will give uname is the reference name, is equal to some John. It will get that and it will display. So how user can input a value into page? How JavaScript can take value from user? JavaScript can take value from the user by using what? It can do that by using query string. Query string is appended in the URL, and query string is accessed in the page by using which technique? Location dot search. It returns entire query string, but you want only part of query string. Then you need to use some more techniques to split the string, get extracted only what you need and present it, which you will gradually learn in next level. You will understand about that. So initially you need to know this input technique. That means in many situations, we will not take input from the page. We will take input from the URL. Inside the page, we will not take any input. In the URL, we will take the input and we will handle that input. So this is example for that. For that, we need a JavaScript. Which object? Location. Location object uses which one? Search. In location search, it has to manage, right? So example, index.js. In index.js, let me copy this function. And index.html. In index.html and add this one. So this is how we are going to manage. This is example for working with input technique. The first input technique is query string. Instead of query string, you can use another technique. Another technique, you can use a prompt. You can use a prompt. Prompt is nothing but it is an input box. It is an input box provided by browser. It is an input box provided by browser to accept input from user. But what is problem with this input box is it is plain string input. That means it will have only simple plain string to input. Suppose I want radio button, check boxes, drop downs, list box. It can't do. It will provide only a simple text box. Through a text box, you can input a value. If you want changes, you want to do more and you want changes, then you can better go with, you can handle that by using what? So other form elements, means radios, checkboxes, drop downs. Those are not possible in a prompt. Prompt is just a simple string input. So what you can do is syntactically, syntax, you can simply define like this. You can simply configure, you can define prompt. In the prompt, you can ask the message, and you, if you want, you can put any default value. Default value you can put in the prompt. Prompt will take the message and the prompt will take a default value also. Default value means it will take the value if you don't provide any value. If you don't provide any value, default value it will take. So for example, now see what I'm doing. Instead of query string here, I'm using a simple prompt. And I will say enter username, and a comma you can keep empty, or if you want you can put some name, some tips, something here. So your name in block letters, something like this I define. Now what will happen? So when you refresh, you see it shows like this. So this is an prompt box, just like an alert, just like a confirm, right? An alert box. Inside that, user can enter some text. It is default value because I given default value. If you want, you can remove and you can put your own value. And when user submits this, we collect the value and we will use the value. This time we are not in placing the input from query string. We are taking input from a prompt. Prompt is an input box. User can input the value. But here, very important is, if you don't want, you can, no need of giving default value. Simply you can put a prompt and we can put message. The default value is optional. Then it will be empty. It will display empty. But here, one important concept is there. What are the consequences for this prompt? What are the consequences for this prompt? What are the consequences for confirm? Confirm consequences 2. User can click OK or user can click cancel. So here the consequences are, here also OK cancel is there. So but there is a third point also. User can click OK without value. Without entering a value, user can click OK. So what happens when user click cancel? What happens when user clicks OK without value? It will take, actually, it will take. That means user click OK without value also, it will take, no problem. It will take. That means user can click OK with value. User can click OK without value, or user can click cancel. Now, what are the consequences for this? Consequences are nothing but, generally, the consequences for this I will give here. The consequences are nothing but, usually prompt returns. One is it returns empty string. Empty string is referred with empty double quotes like this. Empty string is referred with empty double quotes. Empty string, when it will return empty string on OK without value. It will return empty string on OK without value. Without value, you clicked OK. It will return an empty string. Now, another important, it returns a string. What it returns? It returns a string. So on OK with value. Because value is treated as what? it is treated as string. It will return that value. That means the string is nothing but, it is nothing but value entered. Whatever the value entered, it is going to return that value. It is going to return the value. So what value entered, that value it is going to return. So you have empty string and you have the value entered. Now what happens when user clicks cancel? When user clicks cancel, with value, without value, cancel means it will return null, not false. It will return null. Null indicates, that means on what, cancel. With or without value. With value or without value doesn't matter. You click cancel, then it is going to return null, not false. Generally, confirm box will return true or false. But prompt box is not going to return true or false. Prompt box is going to return what? It is going to return empty string, or it is going to return the string user entered, or it is going to return null. So a developer have to write logic for all three consequences. A developer have to write logic for all the three consequences. For example, now see what we will do here. So we will write a logic like this. Logic is nothing but, first we will collect username. Username is coming from where? Prompt. From prompt, we will ask enter username. Okay. Now we have to write condition. If username is equal to empty, that is the first condition. That means user clicked OK without any name. Then what should happen? I will put an alert and I will put a message saying that, so name cannot be empty. This message I will display. Name cannot be empty. Okay. Else if I am giving another condition. What is that condition? Else if means another condition. Remember, these are all part of our language, which you will learn in further levels. That means what is a if condition, how the if conditions are written, what are the various forms, we will discuss detailedly. Here, situation wise, some conditions I am writing because you are just understanding what is input. You are just understanding how this input works. Later, you will implement in various phases. Right there, you will detailedly learn conditions and all. As of now, we need to use some conditions to handle the situation. So if the condition is username empty, then it should say name cannot be empty. Otherwise, else if username is equal to null, it is returning null. Then what? That means they canceled. So we will put an alert. If they canceled, we will put an alert saying that you canceled. That is the message we will display. Otherwise, what should happen? Else, that means it is not empty and it is not cancelled. That means it is having some value. Then display the value in the span. That means document. We have to use document dot what? Query selector. What is the query selector? Span. In span inner HTML, we have to display the username. Whatever stored in the username, we need to get and display that username. Now you can see once you configured that. Now let's run this and see here. So it gets an empty. I clicked on cancel. So it says you canceled. Okay. I clicked on here. So what is it? Okay without name. Okay without name, it says name cannot be empty. And I entered some name. So some name and I clicked OK. Then it should collect the name and display. So whatever the value you entered, it is going to display. So it should handle all the situations. That means it can take value from the user and it can manage the value from the user. But this time value is not provided from query string. It is not provided from query string. It is provided by a box inside the document. But actually that box belongs to browser. That is same alert, confirm and prompt. And what is issue here? Suppose I want to take name and age, not possible both. So at a time, one after another you can take. One prompt for name, another prompt for age, then collect those details and display the details. For example, see here what I am doing. So I am writing simply one prompt for name. Similarly, I am using age is equal to prompt and I said enter age. And here we are defining for age also same conditions we have to write. But as of now, simply I'm saying username plus means we are concatenating, adding a BR. BR is line break. And after that I am saying, so here your age, how much plus whatever the value present in age. That means now user will enter the name. So name and age, you can see user enters the name, user enters the age, and it will display those details. We can take multiple values input, but two prompt boxes will come. One prompt for name, another prompt for age. It's not like in one box you can define all the values. That's not possible. Prompt cannot be customized. Prompt is just having only a simple input. But you see, there are drop downs, list boxes, radios. Those are all created by people with Bootstrap, developers. Developers create their own prompt boxes by using Bootstrap. JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap. Bootstrap allows you to create such prompts and use them. If you have learned CSS and Bootstrap, you know Bootstrap have ready-made models, pop-ups. We can create them. I will show you here. So technically, what is the point? So you can take input from the user by using two ways. One, from the query string user can input, another by using prompt. So in the prompt, what are the limitations? A plain string input is allowed, and a complex input you cannot take. So, and you cannot customize it, have only one simple text box to take, so that you can manage by using this. This is example. So for this example, index.js, I will put the example here. This is index.js example. Index.js and index.html. And here I am defining index.html. This is another option. So we can take input. We can take input from the prompt, or we can take input from this query string. The way of usage is different. Different ways we will use in different examples. I will show you one more example so that you will get a simple clarity. See, another example I will do. I will remove body load, and here I will remove, and I will put a button called create folder. And here I will put a paragraph below it. Now on this button click, so that means I am writing on click, on button click, on button click, on click. We will say create click is a function. We need to write this create click function in index.js. So what is it? Function. What is the function name? Create click. On create click, I need to ask the user what is the folder name. That means we will declare a folder name is equal to prompt. From the prompt, we will take enter name. I'll say enter folder name. And what should happen? We will write condition. If folder name is equal to empty, then what should happen? Then just put an alert saying that so folder name cannot be empty. This message we will give. And we will use else if another condition. If folder name is equal to null, that means they cancelled. Alert. So I will say for you cancelled, you cancelled. That is what we have to do. Else, that means it is not empty and it is not cancelled. Document.query selector. I will display here paragraph dot inner HTML. In the paragraph, I will display a message called folder created. What is the name created plus? I will add the folder name plus BR. Like this I'm using. BR means what? Line break. At the end, it will get a line break. Okay. Now you see here, I click on create folder button. Then it will pop up. What is the folder name? It will ask. I said okay. Then it says folder name cannot be empty. And I clicked again and click cancel. It says you cancel. Okay, I click folder name. I entered the folder name music and okay, it says folder created music. I click again that button and entered movies. Usually this message will replace the existing message. That means I click movies, it is going to replace that existing message. But if you want the message to add to existing message, in the paragraph already if there is message, this equal indicates, so put a new message into it. That means every time equal is going to assign the latest one. But I need to keep the old and add the new one. Then you can use simply plus equal. Plus equal indicates keep the existing, add the new one. That means assign the new message by adding to existing message. That means you are not replacing. Now this will be better. You see now, I am creating here a new folder. I am creating a new folder. In the folder name, say music, and it says music. I create another folder, say movies, and it says movies. I say another folder, some softwares, and it will create that one. At any stage, I click on cancel. It says cancel. At any stage, I clicked empty, okay. Then it says folder name cannot be empty. And I entered some folder name, some personal, then it will get that and display. This is the process of taking input. How we can take input of value from user. So it's not necessary that you have to take at the time of loading the page. So there are two techniques now you have learned. One is query string and how to collect query string. To collect query string, which JavaScript object is used? Which JavaScript object is used to collect query string? Location object. We use an object called location. Location object is used for collecting the value from query string, right? And in location object, which property is used? Location property search. Search is used for accessing and using it, right? That is two options. So we have prompt. Another one is we are having a simple query string input. But if you are looking for a complex data input, that means you will ask your gender, male or female, that you ask through a radio. You will ask through a checkbox. You will ask through some other. In that case, then these are not great. because these are predefined, and this contains only a predefined structure. If you want to create your own structure and you need to define your own structure, then better now we can use the third technique. And what is the third technique? The third technique is we can take input by using form input elements. We can take input from form input elements. From input elements, there are so many. Let me give you first a simple example, then we can take many. For example, I don't want to take input for creating folder from prompt. I don't want to take input from the prompt. Then see what I will do is I will design like this. Go to HTML. I don't want to take input from the form. Then here I will enter a simple folder name and I will create a form input element. Input type is text. And you can see now a text box will come. And I will make it more simple. Instead of giving this, I will keep a simple placeholder. In that we will say folder name. And you can see it displays like this. That means you are not using a prompt anymore. So you can use form input elements. Form input element means, so it is nothing but, so client, so you can accept input from, you can accept input from user by using various form elements like you say text box, like password, like checkbox, like drop down, like list box. So like you have number, range, right? You have so many types of options. These are all different types of input elements. That means you have like number, range, radio, checkbox, radio, etc. All these we can do. These are all form input elements. I hope you learned about HTML forms. When you learned about HTML forms, you learned the elements which allows you to input value from a form. So how do we input value from a form? We can do that. We can input value from the form by using various input elements. And what are the various form input elements? These are all different types of form input elements. So you can use all of them. I will show you first one, text box. That means what we need to do. We need to collect the value coming from this text box and use it. This time input is not from the prompt. It is not from the prompt. This folder name is coming from text box. How to collect the text box? So better. So you can use this query selectors, but query selector is very risky. It's very lengthy. So we will better put an ID. And what is the ID? ID is what? Folder name. So I will access this text box with the reference of ID. How to access reference of ID? Now the logic is simple here. What is it? Folder name. Folder name is coming from document.get element by ID. What is it? Folder name. It is a text box. There are two techniques actually. People do different. Suppose I want to do lot of actions with the text box. Like text box should get focus. Text box should be erased. Text box should show some colors after doing activities. In that case, just stop here. That means now folder name is not coming. Folder name is not coming. Actually, only the text box is coming. That means this refers to not folder name. This refers to folder text box. Understood? For example, you want to get the folder name that they entered in the text box. Then we can use folder name dot value. Folder name dot value means, is it referring to text box? It is not referring to text box. It is referring to value in text box. If you don't have any other operation to do with the text box, then better use directly value. But you have to do a lot of other things with the text box. Like I will tell you, for example, folder name, and this folder name must be added into the paragraph. Document dot what? Query selector. What is the query selected? Paragraph inner HTML. In that what? Folder name plus br. And I will use plus, or so I will just give here plus equal. You can say folder created by name something, right? I'm just giving folder name. Okay, now see what happens here. You entered the folder name music and say create folder, then music is there. After that, this value I want to delete. The value from the text box must be deleted. It's finished now. It should be removed. If it has to be removed, then how? I need to make the text box empty. Then again, I have to call this text box. Again, I have to call the text box. That means what I have to do after this? Document dot get element by ID. Again, what is it? Folder name. Folder name refers to text box. Its value must be empty, is equal to empty. Like this I have to do. That means I need to refer that several times. Instead of that, that means if you have to do a lot of activities with that text box, then don't access the value in text box directly. First access text box, then you can do anything with it. That means what we will do now here, I will do another technique. What I will do, this is okay, this works. That means you see, you entered say music and say create folder, it's empty. I said movies and create folder, that's okay. That is okay. That means it is going to add into that. Now, another important point here is here. This is very important. That's what I said. This is okay, but this is not a good idea, because here we are violating the programming rules. Like actually, currently you are violating the rule called the dry. In software programming, we have to follow this dry rule regularly. In every project officially, they will mention it. In every project officially, they mention about dry rule. Dry indicates don't repeat yourself. That is an official term. Every official project document, you will see this word. It means you read the project principles. They will mention that developer should follow dry principle. Dry principle means I should never see any set of code rewritten again. That means one set of code is you written and you want to use it somewhere else, anywhere else, other time. I should never see that you written it again. That means a code should not have any duplicate, rewritten of logic. So we have to just reuse, not rewrite. We have to just reuse. In that case, this is not a good idea, because you are collecting text box two times. Then what you do is you can do like this. What is it? Folder text box. How to access folder text box? Document dot get element by ID. What is it? Folder name. That is the text box. Now what we will do here? Document dot query selector into the paragraph dot inner HTML. I have to display folder text box dot value. Understood? It is text box value. If I use folder text box, it is not value, it is only text box. Then text box means it refers this text box as an object. It refers the text box as an object. That means now you see here. So I will save this and I will enter some name, movies, something, create folder. It's an object. And what type of object it is? It is an HTML input element object. That means this object contains a lot of properties. In that properties, which property you want? Value. After that, what you can do? So folder text box dot value, you can keep empty. Its value can be empty. That is reference. That means I said movies and say create folder. It is same. I said music and create folder. It is same. I'm not using plus equal. Na? I use plus equal, same. Now you can see I said movies and create folder. I say music and create folder. I am not using BR, so it is added beside only. So that means I am adding a line break here, BR line break, and you can see it is added into line break. That means you see here I am adding so some name. So some name, music, some music, and it is there. If user is not entering anything inside text box, then it should not show. Of course, for that all you have to write logic. Everything we have to write. That means we can write logic, we can put so validations. We generally call this validation. If folder name is not entered, then I want to display some message. Suppose where you want to display the message. So under this, I will add a div. This div have an ID. This div ID is error. In that, I want to display message. And for this div, temporarily, I will give style color as red. Now what I will do is, let's go to index. So here we need to write a condition. Condition is nothing but if folder text box dot value is equal to empty. Is equal to empty means there is no value entered inside it. If it is equal to empty, what should happen? Document dot get element by ID. The div name is what? Error inner HTML, it should display. So folder name required, this message should come. Otherwise this should happen. If it is not empty, this should happen. If it is empty, then this message should come. If not empty, add it. That means now here I am displaying, and very important here, if it is not empty, it is having value, and previously it was empty. When previously it was empty, this message came. After that, it is not empty, but the message is still there. That means now I need to clean up this message. Then I need to use it again. If I have to use it again, don't write like that. So what you do here, declare another variable. Another variable for which purpose? Error. Document dot what? Get element by ID. What is it? Error. This refers to div. Inside that, so error dot inner HTML, you display. So folder name what? Required. That is what we have to do. And here what we will do, if they entered, then error dot inner HTML should be empty again. It should not display the message. That means now see what happens. I clicked on and create folder. It says folder name required. I clicked here and I entered the folder name movies and create folder. It is empty. I am entering some music and say create folder. It's added. I am clicking that create folder again. It says folder name required. And I am entering folder name software and click on create folder. Then it's also added. If by mistake I click empty, okay, then it says folder name required. That means we are taking input from the user and we are verifying the input. So that is how the process works. So technically, we can manage the input by using this method. By using what elements we can handle? By using form input elements. So this is an example for form input elements. How do we manage? So this is what index.what.js. But here I used only text box, not others. We have text box, we have radio, we have list box, we have check box. So many are there. We need to handle all of them. So this is index.js. Here I just used only text box. There are other options also to handle. Then we have another one, index.html. So these are the input techniques, how we can manage input from the user. Basic techniques you learned. I will show you another example with all the elements, how to handle them. That means initially the elements are collected from, so three things you have, input is collected from three places. One query string, another one prompt, another one form input element. Form input element can be anything, text box, radio, check boxes and all, we will see that. So here basic input elements are these, and how do we deal with these input elements? I hope everyone understood, right? So these three things, query string and prompt, another one is form elements. Okay. So these are basic input techniques. We will see one more example with all different types of form elements, how to handle them. How do we work with different types of form elements? So that we will see in next session. So what we are planning is from tomorrow onwards, because many people requested because they are attending offices and all. Tomorrow onwards, we will start the session by 9 to 10:30. Okay, na? I hope, is it okay to everyone? Because many people are requesting for office and all. That's the reason we will sharply start by 9 and we will end by 10:30. So by 10:30, right? After 10:30, if anyone is available, I will take doubts. We'll discuss doubts and all for other people if you have any doubts and all. Okay. Then tomorrow onwards, we will have this session from 9 to 10:30 every day. Okay. I hope it's okay, right? So that people who are attending offices and all, they will be adjusted with the timings, because many people are from office, they are requesting that. So then tomorrow we'll